Welcome, everybody, to Movies, Comics, Umbridge. This is the MCU podcast with the one and only
Hey,
Fragger
everybody.
and me.
By the way, that's your first repeat.
Is it?
Yes.
I'm pretty sure I didn't do
Yeah,
Umbridge.
you have.
All right, well, hold on. Give me, This is Movies, Comics, Umbilical Cord. This is the MCU podcast.
I guess that's better.
Done. Bang. Done.
Wow. That completely blew out your mic. So, hey, everybody. So two things we need to get off right away. We're doing this a little early this week. We're doing it on Monday, so there's something else that we're going to have to mention in a few. This mainly has to do with my week being completely fucked. Today was supposed to be the day that my dad was going to have spinal surgery they were going to take apart a spinal fusion, then do it again. And it was supposed to be a 7-hour procedure. And apparently there was a really nasty accident the night before, and the doctor was still working on it when he showed up. He was working from like 3 a.m. on this guy till like 10. So,
That's a bummer, man.
we spent 8 hours in the waiting room.
Oof. Sorry to hear that, man.
So my week is entirely fucked up. So I had to like completely move everything around. So that's why we're doing this tonight. And that also leads to the other bit of completely off-topic news, but maybe a half an hour before we started doing this, it was announced that Robin Williams was found dead, which is awful because I can't speak for you, but a lot of this man's movies defined my goddamn childhood.
Yeah, this is a guy who was very close to my heart. One of those kind of comedians that, as a kid, I always kind of looked up to. And he had a lot of things that I identified with. So it's pretty heartbreaking news,
Mm-hmm.
especially in regards to the fact that it seems all likely that it points to suicide was the cause.
Yeah.
But still, he was easily one of the greatest comedians of our time.
Mm-hmm.
So we can at least rest knowing that we have a lot of great movies, a lot of great pieces of media to enjoy that he created, and yeah,
and a lot of his probably lesser known stuff is going to get watched now, like 1 Hour Photo being one of the best movies that man's done.
it's one of the ones I still have to catch up on. So
It's so good. It's one of his best dramatic roles. But I mean, the man did one of the best stand-up specials, period, which was his Live on Broadway
oh yeah.
from HBO. Like that thing was amazingly hilarious, and it still holds up today, even with the pop culture references.
And if you ever get the chance, I think you can actually find he has a really great interview with Mark Maron on What the Fuck. It was one of Mark Maron's, I think, like first interviews too, but he has a really good one on there if you ever get the chance to listen to it.
But we're gonna get off this because we don't need to dwell. It's
No.
also unfortunately not our topic, so we can't really dig into this man's history. But if we have a somewhat of a somber tone this week, you kind of have an understanding of why.
hmm I think I know a way we can kind of pick things up a little bit.
Mm.
Let's talk about Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, let's pick it up by how it lost to Turtles.
It lost to Turtles, but won the prize of having the best 10-day record of any movie this year.
Yes, it's now outpacing Transformers, which is ridiculous.
Yes, so the Guardians of the Galaxy right now is doing exceptionally well. It did not manage to beat Turtles this weekend. Turtles opened higher than I think a lot of people were kind of expecting it
Yeah,
to.
people were expecting in the 30s, and it ended up being in the 60s.
Yeah, so it's less of a matter of Guardians having a bad weekend and Turtles just having a really good weekend.
Did you see those
Guardians,
dailies numbers at least? How interesting they were?
it's yeah. I mean, it had the highest Wednesday of the year.
No, I meant the weekend dailies.
Oh no, I didn't see that.
Let me get the daily chart because this is going to be interesting, and you're going to see exactly what I'm going at with this. Okay, so
Okay.
Turtles I'm going to go Friday, Saturday, Sunday was 25, 22, 17. Guardians
Okay.
was 12, 16, almost 13.
So they kind of had a strong Saturday bump, but then kind of leveled off a little
It
bit.
kept consistent.
Yeah, but it was right in that same age number range.
And it just looks like while Turtles was going down every week, Guardians was kind of leveling out,
hmm
which it's pretty amazing that almost the entire week. That
It stayed pretty consistent. It was like 11 million on Monday, 11 million on Tuesday.
grabbing it,
Wednesday,
I'm
I think it
grabbing
was
it
like
here.
9
It's
million.
11 11 8 7.
That's phenomenal.
Yeah.
Like to have those numbers in the fucking midweek.
The fact that it went up on Tuesday.
Yeah, that's crazy. Uh, it's
So
doing it's now 175 domestic.
176,
Uh,
I'm sorry.
yeah, 176. Sorry,
Point
170,
5.
176.5. But that's huge numbers. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
you can look there and be like, well, that's their production budget back. You have to remember to factor in a whole lot of advertising went into it. But foreign still must not be open in a lot of markets. I'll have to look that
They
up.
just said
That's
only one new market, which was Australia open.
okay. I guess it must not be open yet in France because I'm surprised that the number is what it is for foreign right now. But I guess that's just because so many places just haven't gotten it yet.
Yeah,
But
it's
foreign
at
is getting
what, 137, that's right.
yeah. But I mean, it's doing incredibly well right now. You can compare it to pretty much any other Marvel movie right now, and it's kind of in that same. It's in their upper echelon right now. I think it's closer now to kind of being on pace to what Captain America: Winter Soldier was, than more like what
Uh
Thor: The Dark World was.
Actually,
So
yeah, it's about to probably take over Thor the Dark World pretty soon. I'm actually, while we're talking, I'm like opening up like numerous tabs on Box Office Mojo, just
yeah,
trying to get
it's
all these
just
things open as fast as I can here.
that's how I pretty much
By the
operate.
end of the day, it's gonna take over the first Captain America movie because it is literally $100,000 away from taking over that film.
It's gonna pass Thor: The Dark World over the weekend.
Probably because it is 30 million under that.
Yeah, and
And
it's going to be making money throughout the
oh
week.
yeah, it's gonna be making money throughout the week. So is it gonna take over Captain America: The Winter Soldier?
That's going to be
That's
tough.
gonna be iffy. It depends on how much Expendables takes out of it. Because after Expendables, then there's no competition. Period.
Yeah, but then at that point, how many people are really going to bump it in for its fourth week in theaters? So it just comes if it has like a really long staying power. The plus side to it is word of mouth for the film is incredibly strong right now. So
And the fact that they are really putting out those really big, like boasting
yeah, they're like
ads.
suck our nuts, everybody. We made a talking raccoon a tree work.
Like when they're like the one of my favorites, I think, was the Rolling Stone one when they were saying, "Hey, where like some people are throwing out this is better than the Avengers in there," and that will pique a lot of people's interest who haven't seen the movie yet. Is when people say that.
Yeah.
Eh,
And I mean, even if it doesn't beat Winter Soldier, just the fact that it's getting it close to it is insane for a property that had no mainstream recognition before this.
And let's be completely perfectly honest. The most interesting thing that's going to come out of this is how much money is the sequel going to make?
Oh God, it's if they can kind of capture the same feeling for other films too. If they can get if they can get the same thing going for because I don't know if it's possible to have the same feeling going into Ant-Man.
Oh no,
I
at
feel
this
like it's
point.
gonna be tough. I feel like yeah, I feel like too much damage has been done. But like Doctor Strange, I feel like has that same kind of vibe going for it with Scott Derrickson behind it. They're like, let's
Well,
get a visionary guy behind
let's
this.
be honest with the two different kinds of movies. We've got a heist film and a possibly a supernatural kind of movie. You're not going to
Yeah,
get the wonder and the adventure spirit out of the heist film as you could out of Doctor Strange, which is
yeah,
going to be seeing an entirely new world. Whereas it's just I'm small now.
yeah. Fucking Ant-Man's lame, but no, it is just one of those things where I'm just like, oh man, it's so curious to see how Marvel's doing gonna work with new properties now because after they've seen what Guardians can do, I feel like they have to be sitting there like we have a whole fucking wide open field to play from now.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Other than that, I'm at the point now where I'm like, I just want Guardians on Blu-ray. I just want to watch it constantly.
I you can still see it in theaters.
Yes, but that requires me to have a car that doesn't try to throw itself into stall whenever it idles.
That sounds awful.
It is.
You should get a new car.
I need to fix that car.
I think you should give me your PS4 and then get a new car.
Um, I could give you one of my other consoles, baby.
Did you call me baby?
I said maybe.
Oh, I got that was like really weird for a moment. I was like, are you coming on to
Wait,
me,
I
Flagger?
guess you're trying to make me your console sugar daddy. So I don't know what's
No,
going on here, Chris.
I'm like, hey there, baby, you want an Xbox One?
I don't have that. That's the only one I don't have.
Yeah, like f that noise.
Oh, I don't have a Wii U either, but
Yeah, I don't know who gets that. Some cool things going on for Guardians, though. A couple things we've been hearing about. Kevin Feige had a little bit of an interview with IGN where he talked about Guardians of the Galaxy 2. And one of the topics that's been kind of brought up about is Peter Quill's father and who he's going to be. And Kevin Feige basically has confirmed that Guardians of the Galaxy 2 will deal with who Peter's father is going to be and that it's basically going to be a kind of a big deal about who his dad's going to be. So this is one of those things I feel like Marvel's going to say, look, this exists in the comics in one way, but we're changing how it's going to work for the movies because we think it could be more
I
interesting.
don't know. The comics version is still pretty damn interesting.
Well, I mean, it's basically just he's a royalty of some kind, right? Like his dad's not particularly anyone special, right?
It's more on the along the lines of it's an interesting storyline as opposed to forcing it into something else.
Yeah.
But then again, I do trust Marvel to not change it for the sake of changing it.
Yeah, they're not just going to be like, he's fucking Thanos' son. It's crazy
That would
ass.
absolutely be the worst.
But also something very cool that I think a lot of people are going to be excited about. There is going to be a released ver. Well, here we go. Very likely there is going to be a awesome mix soundtrack on cassette.
Yep.
So James Gunn talked to, or rather, I guess he tweeted E Online about this. He's saying there we're trying to work on a soundtrack on cassette, and he's hoping that suffices. So they're working on that right now, and that sounds fucking awesome to have a cassette of the awesome mix.
Imagine that as I could imagine that as a pack-in on some of the home media releases of the movie.
Oh hells yeah,
That's what we call a bonus item, folks.
that'd be a sweet fucking item.
Mm-hmm.
That's about it though for Guardians news. It's basically just been that the movie's performing exceptionally well, and some little bits here and there.
Over the week, Marvel has also been dumping a whole bunch of the special features from the Captain America Blu-ray onto their YouTube channel, be
Hmm.
it deleted scenes, half of the blooper reel it looks like, and some of the featurette. So if you care to watch that stuff early, go watch it there. There's one deleted scene I kind of wish was in the movie, and one that I'm like, yeah, that's pretty cool that one's gone.
It, I was seeing when I went to go see Ninja Turtles, they had an ad there for the Blu-ray version of Amazing Spider-Man 2,
Hmm.
and they were talking about the deleted scenes from the movie, and I found it very strange. They're like featuring the awesome scene where Peter talks to his dad, and I was like, how the fuck did that scene get cut from the movie, but the rest of the movie was still intact? Like, it seems like a pretty fucking big scene. Hey, I talked to my dead dad.
Or I was reading the review on Blu-ray.com, and they said it had a half an hour of deleted scenes.
Good God, that was a long enough movie as it was.
Deleted an alternate scene, 23 minutes long. Yeah, Peter meets his father is a 5-minute scene.
I'm like, where? How did that just get cut from the movie? Like, I understand it's probably like a fucking dream sequence or some kind of non-reality moment, but I'm just like, how the fuck did that possibly exist within the movie? You took it out, but the movie still stays as it is. Like, wouldn't that have affected Peter in some way? Hey, I talked to my dead dad, which
through
was kind
through this Ouija board.
yeah, which was kind of a big deal. Now, as they show the scene and it's him talking to his dad on the bench, I just assume it's fucking like, oh, I'm fucking really sleepy and I'm just imagining my dad or something like that. But
Yeah.
it's one of those things like, how do you do this? And it just doesn't change the movie.
Another thing too is something that almost makes you want to pick up this Blu-ray. Almost is the fact that it apparently has almost a 2-hour behind the scenes documentary.
Oh,
It's supposed to be like the best thing in it, including a thing that I would absolutely laugh if they title part of the documentary on the third film or Sinister Six this. It's called Lessons Learned, Development and Direction.
the like mistakes we made.
Then it's Heart of the City shooting in New York, Triple Threat, Attack of the Villains, or the audience, A More Dangerous World, Transforming a Goblin and Electro, Bolt from the Blue, Visual Effects, and Spidey Gets His Groove Back, Music and Editing. Which is,
Sounds like it could be a decent feature.
yeah, well, um, blah, blah, blah. I'm trying to read this something that was really funny how they were talking about one thing I didn't know, they shot the movie on film.
Hmm.
I had no idea. It looked like a digital movie because of crappiness.
There are a
Shrug.
lot of scenes that were very digital in that.
Yeah, it probably didn't matter that they shot it on film so much. That shit's fucked with as
Yeah,
is. But enough of that terrible movie that I have not watched yet. Um,
lucky you. There's been some a little bit of news from just about everything else though this week.
mhm.
There was some big news about Avengers: Age of Ultron. If you guys haven't seen it, Joss, I always want to add the H in there. Joss Whedon posted up on his Twitter that Avengers 2 has wrapped production
Yep.
and they're going into post production now. So we probably, in all likelihood, should be getting a trailer for the movie sometime in like November or so,
Mhm.
in that kind of ballpark range. So Avengers: Age of Ultron seems to be in a very good hands and right on track for its May opening next year.
Yeah, it
Uh,
does. Which is good. Although
Production seems to have gone fucking smooth as shit too.
this is their second shoot that they did because they did an earlier shoot earlier in the year, if memory serves.
Yeah.
Was because that's where they did most of the Scarlett Johansson stuff before she got super preggers.
Also, before people had to see Lucy and they were just like, "Fuck this! I don't care about you anymore."
She wasn't that bad in that, but she was one of the better parts of that movie. It was the
It
weirdness.
was everything else.
Yeah, she was fine in that. I actually okay, little Lucy tangent, tiny bit. Up until she got the drugs in her, I actually really liked her performance.
Oh yeah,
And then
it's
she
when
played the perfect apathy afterwards. That was probably
it's when
required of her to do.
it's when all of her emotion leaves. I'm just like, well, this is less entertaining.
Well, there's the whole joke of that the moment that happened, she became a sociopath. So, shrug.
Yeah. But hey, good news for people who are Avengers fans. It's looking to be on track then. Ant-Man had a little bit of news. This is not even really news. This is basically just confirming something I think a lot of us understood. But Peyton Reed did confirm that Casey Lang's going to be an Ant-Man,
Mm-hmm.
and she's going to play a factor into it. Which, for those of you who don't know, Casey Lang is Scott Lang's. Is it Scott Lang, or am I thinking the wrong character?
No.
Scott. Okay, I was like, am I thinking of someone from The Office? Scott Lang's daughter. Scott Lang being the person who's going to be Ant-Man in this. If I recall correctly, the storyline is that his daughter's sick of some kind of disease, something like that,
One
or
of the
she's been,
one of the numerous Marvel diseases that is killing children.
yeah, it fucking just kills children, and that's why he's stealing money because he needs to basically get the money he needs to save her. So
Like the
uh,
Sandman's daughter disease.
yeah, I was gonna say it's basically Sandman from fucking Spider-Man 3 if you needed to understand that. But hey, she's going to be in the movie, so an integral part of the movie is going to be in peace.
Makes sense. It's his big character motivator.
Yeah, I mean that's what's supposed to kind of ground this guy. He's going to be kind of an asshole, but when you know that he has his daughter and everything like
The
that, I mean
reason
that's
why
enough.
he's an asshole is because of his daughter.
Yeah, and you start to feel for the guy.
Single tier.
Yeah. Some Daredevil stuff came out based on the fact that some stuff was leaked. A couple photos from the shoot has been leaked that show Charlie Cox as Matt Murdock. We haven't seen him in the suit yet, but you do get to see him as Matt Murdock with the cane, the glasses,
Being super
kind of
blind.
reddish hair. Yeah, super blind. Some of the photos, this guy, if you want to check it out, you can find them on
Anywhere.
various different sites. Yeah, but be warned because it is potentially spoilers for how he basically his origin story is going to be told within some of these photos. So if you want to kind of go into the show completely fresh and not see how they're going to be handling that, try to stay clear of some of these photos. But he looks good. I think he looks good as Matt Murdock.
Yeah,
So
I'm pretty pumped for that. It looks like Murdoch. Shrug.
yeah, and a little other piece. Rosario Dawson's character has been seen on call sheets for the Daredevil series, listed as Claire T. So it's unknown right now if that's the name of her character, if it's she's playing Elektra or Echo, if that's just a fake name that she has, or if it's honestly, I even think it could just be an intentional name put on there to throw off the fact that it's probably going to get leaked.
Yeah, they're probably just saying a name. Who the hell knows at this point?
Yeah, I mean it's not like Claire T. People were just like, oh, I know who that is now. I mean it's nobody but
T-shirt
me.
woman.
Yeah, so yeah, we'll see, but there's something to mention and put out there. And in other news of, hey, we'll just put this out there because I don't think anyone actually has an opinion on the matter. Henry Simmons is joining Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. as Alfonso Mack Mackenzie,
Yay.
a character who was inspired by the Nick Fury versus S.H.I.E.L.D. comic. So I
Yay.
have no idea who Henry Simmons is, and I have not met anyone else who does. So great casting, I guess.
Yeah, good job, Shield.
Fucking key casting, man.
Boom.
Yeah, fucking another score from Marvel.
Yeah.
I mean, he seems like a cool dude. I mean, he's been in a whole bunch of
Yeah.
other stuff. It's just I have no idea who he is.
hmm So that's it for the Marvel news, I believe.
Yes.
We have some hilarious news though.
Well, you've probably heard about this for a while now, especially after it was announced what would be taking the spot. But Marvel had a spot reserved in 2016 for Captain or for a Marvel movie. It was in May. I forget what the exact day is. May something in
Hey,
2016.
somethingeth.
Yeah, and eventually Warner Brothers announced that their Batman vs Superman movie was going in that spot. Well, after Winter Soldier did so spectacularly well, Marvel's like Captain America 3 is coming out on that date in 2016. And both movies were aimed to come out, and it was a question of which one's going to move. And when you talk to one studio, they were just like, we wish the best of luck to our competition. We like this date. We're going to be staying there, so it looks like we're going to be good. And it became, a question of who's going to blink first on this.
Because it made no sense for both of them to come
Yeah,
out on the same
they
day.
they they just cannibalize each other. So eventually, it was going to be one of these movies going to have to move, and we've seen which one it is.
Then Guardians happened.
Yeah, Warner Brothers has moved Dawn of Justice to March 25th, 2016, to avoid debuting alongside Captain America 3.
Yeah, Marvel's on a super high right now. And
Yes.
the only things right now that we can all agree on that may hurt them is Avengers might be cannibalized by overhype.
Mhm.
That might be it. But once you get to the overhype status, everyone's still gonna go see it anyways.
Yeah.
But the thing that might truly hurt is Ant-Man. That's about it right now.
And even then, I don't think Ant-Man would destroy what they have, but
No,
it is
it's gonna
definitely.
take a bit of their stride.
Oh, yeah. But even then, it's still one of those things right now. Marvel is definitely being given the benefit of the doubt in regards to their movies. Anyone's kind of like, I don't know about this. They're usually like, well, they haven't led me wrong. We've yet to have a bad Marvel movie. So
I still
people,
say the closest is either, depending on your viewpoint, Hulk, Iron Man 2, or Iron Man 3.
I would say Thor's the closest I would have. The first Thor.
Iron
I
Man
think,
2.
yeah. I guess it depends on the person. But like, even then, I still don't think Thor was a bad movie. I just think it was like a meh movie.
Yeah, I would say Iron Man 2 is the closest to being a bad movie because half of that movie is just poop.
Yeah, everything Don Cheadle's in.
Oh, yeah, it's not Cheadle's fault.
I hate Don Cheadle in that role.
I know you do.
He's so boring.
To be fair, a lot of that movie's pretty boring. I really hated the whole Tony Stark, let's get drunk and do things. That was not fun.
Yeah, there are weak points to it. We'll get into it, I guess,
We'll get
more when
into
we
that in a few
finally do
months.
that. Yeah, when we finally do the watch catch up. But along with this news that our Warner Brothers was going to be shifting when they were going to be putting out Batman vs Superman: Dawn of Justice, they also announced like 12
That's a little
fucking
presumptuous
movies.
there, DC.
They announced a lot of movies, basically their entire lineup of films, all the way up through 2020. We have a movie in 2016 beyond what we already know of Batman vs Superman. There's going to be two films in 2017, at least two more in 2018, with the possibility of two other ones as well. One other one that's just titled Untitled WB Event Film. So I don't know. That might just be a Harry Potter thing or something like that. Another two films for DC in 2019, and then two more with the potential of another third one in 2020, with another WB event film listed.
Yeah, I do think that's a little presumptuous on them, and I don't know how much flack they got for that. They're saying, here's movies up till forever from now, and Marvel they just did up to 18,
Mm-hmm.
but it's because we're used to that by now, by Marvel saying, hey guys, this is coming. Peace out.
Yeah, Well, part of this is that not necessarily this is creating a DC cinematic universe because we know at least one of the movies on here is going to be the Sandman movie that Joseph Gordon-Levitt's kind of attached to produce. I think he may have written for it as well, but I don't believe that movie's going to be tying into the DC like movie universe in any
That's
way.
gonna get really confusing after a while.
And and the same it could be possibly said for the Shazam movie with The Rock in it. I don't know if they're going to tie that into the Justice League movies as well, or if that's just going to be its own standalone.
But you and I can agree that's gonna get confusing.
Oh yeah, if it's going to be if you're going to put DC Studios on its title and then some of the movies attached to one of them, some of them don't, then yeah, it is going
There's
to
gonna
be
be a
very
giant
confusing.
red stamp that goes not canon.
Yeah, the standalone, boom. But yeah, this is pretty huge news. I mean, as comic book fans, we're in an age right now where comic books are at their renaissance. You know, the movies are at the biggest they've ever been, and they're just going to get bigger until eventually the bubble bursts and things kind of settle down a little bit. But as it is right now, if you look at like the upcoming schedule between the Marvel movies, between the DC movies, between the Spider-Man, X-Men movies, and the Fantastic Four ones, we have like 7 or 8 superhero movies a year on the docket for the next couple years.
Yeah, it's getting pretty crazy.
It's insane how much we're going to be getting. And this news was just the topper to all of it. That there's that they DC is planning right off the bat. Like I know it took us like 3 years to finish. Like well, I guess Man of Steel was actually last year, and then they've got 2 years, yeah, 3 years, yeah, basically between Man of Steel and Dawn of Justice. And then they're like, and right after that, we're gonna go to 2 movies a year.
Yeah, they're kind of jumping really fast. I only say it's presumptuous because we have not seen a combined film yet and seeing how well this is going to work.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I'm still very down on the whole Zack Snyder train. So, drug.
Oh yeah, I mean, here's the thing. I do want to kind of give them the benefit of the doubt and be like, look, I want to step back and I'm going to say, hey, maybe these movies won't be that bad or anything like that, and I am going to kind of go into them as open minded as I can. But it is one of those things where you look at it, you're like, that
But
is,
then
I
again,
mean,
I'm someone who saw Man of Steel.
yeah, I saw Man of Steel. I know what you did there,
And that was
but
fun.
yeah, I mean, good luck to DC at the very least because this is it's a very risky proposition.
Just please give your character some colorful costumes. Come on.
That's not happening.
Yeah, no. Shazam, all black.
Yeah, they'll be like they'll be the very muted red with a little bit of gold.
Blood, like blood, crusty blood red.
Well, yeah, and he won't be like when he's a kid, he's like goofy, but then when he turns into an adult, he's like, I'm a badass who's gonna murder everybody now.
Of course.
Shazam! Like he'll say Shazam and then punch the
He'll say
guy so
Shazam
bad.
bitches like every time.
Yeah.
And then punches somebody.
Shazam, motherfuckers!
And then punch them in the face. And they
And he'll just
explode.
do like he'll do rock speeches while he's doing it.
Hmm.
It doesn't matter what your fucking name is.
Oh god, I know I get shit every now and then for making fun of their shit, but I don't care. I mean, DC has not proved they've over the past couple of years they've put out quite a few movies, and I've liked 2 out of like 7.
Mhm.
I mean, yeah, I someone who hates Dark Knight Rises too. I can't stand that movie.
Oh god, I hate Dark Knight Rises. I think it was. I think
It's
I
like
may
half
have,
a good movie.
I think I may have tweeted you back when that movie was still in like the trailer mode, and I was like, "Is it just me or the trailers look not good on this?"
Yeah. There's also going to be a time where we should really dig into that shit too, and kind of go into like. There's a time when I really want to go into Man of Steel and why it doesn't work as a movie. And it has
I,
nothing to do with them making him grimdark. As there's a lot of other incredibly wrong things with that movie.
I still say there's some merit to Man of Steel. It's just a terrible Superman movie.
Yeah, he's not
It
Stoops.
just doesn't like he doesn't act like Superman at all.
And there's a lot of whenever people talk about the movie and defending it and whatnot, it has nothing to do with the actions portrayed in the movie. It's the fact that the movie put him in those situations.
Yeah, and then the easiest excuse is, well, it's all just set up for the next movie. And I was like,
Yeah,
well,
that makes it better.
I was like, I don't want to fucking have to see a second movie 3 years later to get the whole story.
I don't want to get it 3 years later with a murdering Superman.
Yeah, you got to give me something at least to finish off this. Yeah.
You don't want to give me multiple years of blue balls here, but no. One of the bigger things though is like Pa Kent.
Oh God, he's so awful in that movie.
I
Like not acting, it's just that
the
character
character.
is
I
awful.
have perpetually burned into my mind the shot of him putting out his hand, going no. That will never.
Or, or the moment when he's just like, maybe you should let that bus full of
Maybe you
kids
should
drown.
have let that bus full of kids die.
Maybe you should just let all those kids die so no one knows you're a superhero. That's the responsible thing to do.
And then the IHOP fight.
Oh God.
And then they
Um,
fought at an IHOP.
and they could have just stopped the destruction there, like Superman destroys local IHOP, Lex Luthor's outrage, but no, he had to destroy half of Smallville and Metropolis then as well.
Did the 9/11 imagery and the sexual joke in the ashes of people.
Yeah.
Still one of the
No.
most uncomfortable shots I've ever seen in my entire life. They say it all goes down after the first kiss. Let's make out harder in ashes.
On the corpses of our dead fucking citizens. But yeah, that's all I really have in terms of news this week. Kind of light, but some interesting stuff there. The DC news probably the biggest. But
Because right now Marvel's in the mode where they don't want to undercut Guardians too much. They want to still remind everyone Guardians is in theaters. Keep watching it.
it actually reminds me. Did you see James Gunn? What the gift Marvel gave James Gunn for his birthday?
Yes, I did. That's pretty
It's
rad.
awesome. For those of you who haven't seen it, it's the orb from the movie opened up, and there's an Infinity Stone within it, and then it has a placard on it that says "That was a pretty good plan," which is a fucking great little gift for James Gunn his birthday, and really
I
cool.
think they said
So,
like the art team gave him the picture of his dog sitting on Rodin's throne
oh yeah,
ship. That was an awesome shot too. But yeah, I mean, we could talk all the time about Guardians, and we're going to. In fact, we're now switching gears to an entirely Guardians themed podcast. Hope you guys are okay with that.
yeah, it's just the Guardians all the time.
Yes, all Guardians all the time. But no, seriously, when it comes to that movie, I just want to keep watching it. I want to watch it a few more times. I haven't seen it a second time yet. It's
Oh, you gotta.
well, I don't know if I'm gonna have time at this point.
Come on, Fragger. You fucking Destiny isn't out yet. You need to use your time well while you have it.
This week is really bad. I'm gonna try to before it completely leaves, but I usually try to see my movies a second time during my $5 day, which is Tuesday, and my Tuesday is completely fucked. So we'll see. But there was something I wanted to mention about Guardians, and it's completely escaped me. And I can't believe that it's completely escaped me. Oh, I've actually been talking with certain people and wanting to go into a few things. And there's actually one Marvel criticism I would like to talk with you about for a second before we get to our
Okay,
reviews.
go for
The
it.
people who keep saying that Marvel keeps having really terrible villains.
I can. All right, go ahead.
I actually went through it in my head. We're 10 movies in,
Hmm.
and I'm thinking we're maybe half and half when it comes with villains. Like Abomination's actually a pretty good villain in Hulk. Because let's skip over Iron Man 1. That was not a great villain. Um
Jebediah Stone?
yeah,
You're
Obadiah
saying?
Stane, yeah.
Oh, I loved Obadiah Stane. No,
I liked him
he
up until
definitely
he's just like, I got a
he
suit
ranks
now.
he ranks on my good villains list. He was absolutely great, and it's they did kill him off, but I thought
Well,
they
I
did
mean, I
exactly
hated
the
his
story.
arc. His arc was pretty terrible.
No, I liked it. You're crazy.
It's just the whole thing of like, well, I've got a suit now. Haha.
Well, yeah, I mean, he took Iron Man's suit so he could get strong and then sell it off to the.
Yeah, I understand the story reasons. I wished it hadn't been a let's beat each other up in a suit way to resolve the character arc.
I guess.
But so okay, I'll give that one to you. So okay, we got Stain.
Mhm.
I say Abomination is.
Abomination works. I wasn't crazy about Christian Slater as him,
That wasn't Christian
or
Slater.
not Christian Slater. Fuck, what's his goddamn name? I'm blanking on it right
You are
now.
blanking on it.
Oh God! And I know as soon as you say it, it's gonna fucking.
I forget his name too because I haven't
Oh
watched that
God!
movie in forever.
Fuck!
That's the name I am looking for. No, Wikipedia, you're supposed to go to the page, not stop going to the page.
Oh God damn! What's his name?
Vamp.
Oh fuck! It's gonna annoy the shit out of me until you say it too.
Tim Roth.
That's it. Fuck! I was like, it's one of those names that like I know the actor, but I can't think of his name off the top of my head when I see him. But no, I didn't care for him necessarily in the role, but I liked him in it, and
Oh,
he is one of the few characters who is still alive in the Marvel Cinematic
he
Universe.
is. I really liked his build up to being Abomination.
Yes, I liked him as
Yeah,
Blonsky.
yeah,
Yeah, I liked him
Blonsky.
as Blonsky a lot.
I also loved his like super soldier fight
Hmm.
that he has against the Hulk. Is one of the better fights in that movie.
Yeah,
And then he just gets bangled against the tree.
and it's really good to have like they created a good character who you should feel sympathetic for because the Hulk should be, you know, the antagonist most of the time he's fighting a human because he's just so ridiculously stronger than him. But he does a great job at still making himself dislikable. So you're just like, I know the Hulk could break you like a fucking twig, but I'm still rooting for the Hulk to beat you.
Hmm.
So I liked him a lot.
Fun fact: originally they were trying to get Ray Stevenson to be the role,
Okay.
but
Hmm.
the problem was is that he ended up being in Punisher Warzone. So like, I can't do this now.
I still hope they find a way to get him in
Yeah,
something else because he's great.
he is pretty awesome. But yeah, so we have him. Then we jump into Iron Man 2, where we had two different villains,
You know what? Here's the thing. I like Whiplash in premise for what they were going for. They just didn't give him enough.
and he's gone for a lot of the movie.
Yeah, and then they just kill him off. He's like he was part of the start of what kind of gets people bothered with these Marvel movies, and that they kind of create a villain, don't give him enough to do, and then kill him off.
Yeah, and also the fact that the better version of his suit was the first version. Let's be
Hmm.
honest, until he got his own super powered suit with a face mask.
Yeah, he was not great. I like him in premise though. He's essentially like a very close mirror of Tony Stark in a lot of ways. So I like that story to him. He just needed to be developed a little bit
And then,
more.
of course, Hammer as well.
Yeah, I don't even count him. He's not even much of a villain per
He
se.
had some fun bits.
Yeah,
Then
Sam Rockwell was
and then
fine.
after that, we got Red Skull.
We had Loki first, didn't we?
Oh yeah, it was Loki. Sometimes I get them back and forth. My bad.
I always remember it just because Winter Soldier was the last one before Avengers. Loki is obviously great. Tom
We
Hiddleston
could
is
skip over that completely.
yeah,
It's Loki.
he's phenomenal.
Yeah.
Red Skull I like a lot. I like the character. I mean, the character himself is a fucking. He's one of those characters I'm glad Marvel has because they don't have Magneto. You don't have Doctor Doom. You don't have those like a couple of those characters who are like the big Marvel bad guys. That's why I'm glad they have Red Skull because he is one of those big Marvel bad guys who can be like a legitimate threat on just about any level
Hmm.
for the Earth heroes. It's a shame that they're
They
not letting
benched him as of right
yeah,
now. Yeah.
they've benched him, and it's very likely we won't see Hugo Weaving returning to the role because he said he didn't care for it very much. You know, he didn't like the makeup, and he doesn't really want to repeat the same kind of role. But they do have it open enough that he could still appear.
Yeah. Then after
And
that,
it,
we had Loki again
mhm.
and Shatari. So
Which were just
I'm just Shatari.
yeah.
Then after that was yeah.
Yeah, this is where things start to make more sense for people about why they're like, I don't care for Marvel's villains. You start off with
Killian.
Killian,
I actually
who
don't mind Killian. I think Killian is the better of the weaker villains.
he could have been better. This is sort of Iron Man's problems, especially with 2 and 3,
Hmm.
where I feel like they just could have handled things a little bit better or wrote things a little bit better. Killian could have worked, but there are just too many weird moments. From honestly, has that really weird scene where he breathes fire that kind of took a lot out of him for me. I don't know. It was just really weird the way it came off.
Yeah.
But yeah, he wasn't perfect, but I
And I
mean
think a
they
lot of people also hate it because Mandarin wasn't the villain.
yeah, and I tend to be fair. It opens the door up for them to still use Mandarin at some point.
Thank you, all hail the king.
Like we know there's a real Mandarin still out there, so we've got that to work off of. But yeah, a lot of people were annoyed that you put Mandarin in the movie, but you switch it up like that.
Then we got the true weak one.
Yeah, I you know what, and I still like Thor: The Dark World a lot, but I do have to recognize Malekith was a pretty wasted
He
villain.
was in the movie for like 10 minutes.
Yeah, and you cannot like they probably had to spend a good amount of money to get Christopher Eccleston, but you can't even see it's him.
And then he just speaks Elvish the entire
Yeah,
movie.
I mean there's nothing to really like give him a shot to really show his stuff.
Yeah, so there's that one. And then we
Mhm.
got the Winter Soldier.
And you know what? Fucking Bucky Winter Soldier is great.
Oh yeah,
He's incredible. He's one of the most intimidating villains the Marvel Cinematic Universe has had. You know, the action scenes where he's just like punting people into jet plane propellers
yeah.
makes him like just so intimidating. So he's great. And you know, he happens to also be one of the few that still exists within the universe, so he'll probably be doing a face turn.
And we also have no idea about if he's going to like there's something I do want to get into. There's actually been a news that I found out about Captain America that I completely forgot until we started doing this, where they actually
Okay.
talked a little bit about that, but we'll get into that in a minute. But there's also another villain in that movie, which is Robert Redford playing a villain.
Yes. And you know what? Pierce, you know, he's definitely not like, I don't think he's a character from the comics at all. And he kind of fulfills a pretty basic role in what you'd kind of expect from this, a member within the
He's
military.
actually from the comics.
Is
Yeah.
he? Okay. I did not know that. I thought it was kind of a more original thing. He still works, you know, he's somewhat predictable. I mean, you kind
Well,
of expect he's evil from the beginning.
because he's Robert Redford.
Yeah, but he still sells it so well. He's intimidating without needing superpowers.
The scene in
This
the boardroom towards the end of the movie when he's like holding everybody hostage.
Yeah, and he's exactly the kind of villain you needed to sell Captain America as this political spy thriller combination movie. So I think he worked great in that. I mean, he's gone now, so you don't have to worry about a sequel or anything from him. But I thought he worked relatively well.
Hail Hydra.
Yeah, no actor.
And then we got Ronan.
Yes, and Ronan again is one of those ones where he could have been great. Lee Pace was incredible as him.
I think it's dead in the center with
they
him.
just don't give him enough time to
They don't
work.
give him enough time to work, but I feel like it's one of those movies where it was already stuffed, and I think they didn't want to keep spending too much time on him. They gave him his motivation, they gave him some great scenes, but they were like, we'd rather spend more time with the Guardians.
But and it's weird to me though that they do that with a character like Ronan who has different arcs to the comics because the way the movie ends, you're not really certain if there's any chance of this guy coming back.
Who knows?
So it
I'm
what's that?
saying who knows?
Yeah, so it's one of those things where I'm just like I feel like there's storylines open that I'm surprised are kind of left up into the air if you're ever going to follow up on them because you decided to go with him as opposed to you know some other kind of maybe less name recognition but more generic kind of villain who doesn't have as much you know kind of subtext to them or you know interesting storylines you can work them into.
Yeah. But I think we kind of just proved the point that it's actually more the exception than the rule that they have weak villains.
It's probably like hovering around half and half, and it's bad because right now their failures are more in the
Recent.
limelight. Yeah, they're more recent than most of their successes. I mean, you forget that Incredible Hulk even like happened
Marvel
because it was
wants us
so
to
long ago.
forget that Incredible Hulk happened.
I mean, you forget that you know Red Skull's still out there because we haven't seen them in anything. Yeah, I haven't seen him referenced in the past two movies. It's tough to remember that those guys are still around.
But let's be honest, the next two big villains that we kind of know are big and heavy and awesome. Being our next villain is fucking Ultron.
Yeah, well, we know Ultron. We know that there's going to be Yellow Jacket and Ant Man,
We,
which should work. I mean, he's going to be the right villain for that kind of movie. I
mm-hmm.
feel
We got Thanos.
Thanos is looming around the corner. Whether it's, I mean, I'm sure he'll show up in Guardians 2 and then presumably right into Avengers 3. So, I mean, he seems to be handled very delicately and carefully right now, where they don't want to overuse him, but they're kind of showing that he's
Oh,
this badass within the
we've
universe.
also got Strucker,
Strucker's out there.
which,
Um,
let's be honest, that was some great casting.
who's playing Strucker?
Thomas Kretschmann, sorry.
Okay, I guess I need to see more of him to see exactly how it's going to play out.
He was in 24 for a few seasons, or at least a season, I believe. He's also been in quite a few other things. I'm trying to like pick out the big thing that people would know him from. Going through stuff. He was the captain in King Kong.
Hmm.
Keep going through things. He was in Blade 2 as a character I don't remember.
Oh boy.
I know, isn't that awesome?
Blade 2.
Well, you know, one of the lesser good um, Guillermo movies. He was also in U571. That movie that people have forgotten. He was in Wanted as the father.
I, yeah, this is a guy who I know very little about, sadly.
Mm, mm.
But I'll watch Avengers: Age of Ultron. We'll see.
Since I don't know this guy, I guess I'm not seeing Avengers
Yeah,
Ultron.
I was like, you talked me right out of Avengers: Age of Ultron. Although sadly, I have talked both of my family members out of Ant-Man just by talking about it. I was like, yeah, it's it's Ant-Man played by Paul Rudd, and Kate from Lost is going to be playing the love interest who maybe becomes a superhero. And they're like, oh, that just sounds awful.
I'm
I was like,
done.
I was like, it's not their fault. Kate was such a bad character.
But yeah, I mean, he did a pretty good job in that one scene that we've seen him in.
Yeah, I mean, it remains to be seen how well he is.
Strucker's a heavy too.
He can be, yeah, he definitely can be a big character.
Yeah,
I'll kind of wait to see how they utilize him.
Strucker. But yeah, so I mean, we have some big shit coming. I mean, who the hell knows who we got coming down the pipeline for Doctor Strange's villain? Who knows that one's gonna be?
Yeah, I mean, well, I guess the first thing first is announce who's going to be Doctor Strange, and then right after that,
Let's announce more Doctor Strange things first.
yeah. But he's got a great big rogues gallery to play with of huge characters, so that's someone who probably they can introduce. He'll be there and then gone. Like I don't feel like he needs a lot of recurring villains, but
Mhm.
he can put a big heavy hitter into that universe. But it is one of those things, and this is why I think it's so annoying to people that Marvel kills off their villains is because the way superhero movies had been presented previously to us, especially with the Marvel movies between X-Men, Fantastic Four, and the Spider-Man movies, those movies just didn't kill off their villains. I mean, Magneto's been in every X-Men movie.
Mhm.
Doctor Doom was in both Fantastic Four movies. Spider-Man kept a Green Goblin of some fashion around in each movie.
I'm
This,
looking at all their villains that they have, and there's very few Marvel cinematic villains that could probably carry a second movie, if you
yeah, and
really think about it.
it's just one of those things too where if you stop to think about it, Marvel just doesn't have a big notable rogues gallery of
And the
villains to
ones that
be
they
honest.
do have, they
They
don't
don't own
own
the rights.
anymore.
Yeah, I mean, you look at Doctor Doom. Yeah, I'd be pissed if they killed Doctor Doom off after one movie, but they just don't own the rights to him. So,
Or
you
Galactus.
know, yeah, I mean, these are guys who are like, look, we just kind of had to deal with the fact that we gotta deal with these smaller characters, and we're gonna try to build them up as much as we can. But simple fact of the matter is, we're gonna make the heroes more entertaining, and if that comes at the cost of maybe the villains not being as memorable, well, you're buying the merchandise with the hero's face on it, not the villains.
I
So
mean, God forbid they kill Loki.
yeah, well, that would. I think the Thor franchise alone would sink right there.
Yeah, that movie would not make money. People would go see it that one week and go, done.
Like, well, I hope there's not a Thor 4 because I'm not seeing it.
Yeah, exactly. Although I do have a feeling that they may actually kill him off.
Uh, well, that's actually one thing that they have is they have a lot of Thor villains they haven't used. Enchantress hasn't been used. Sulfur or whatever his
Mhm.
name was, the guy who was in Avengers: Earth's Mightiest Heroes, who they never get to follow up on.
Yeah, the guy was just kind of there, was like, bye.
He was like, I've taken your Enchantress. I'm destroying your world, but the series is ending before you get to combat me.
Have fun.
Yeah, deal with it.
And I still am wondering. There's that part of my head that's still swimming. Did Loki give the Aether to the Collector to try to stave off Thanos?
It might have been. It also might have been one of those things where he's like, even as impersonating Odin, I can't come up with a logical reason why I'd want two of these here, especially because that would just make him a bigger target for Thanos.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe he's like, I'll pass this one off because all I really want is Asgard. I don't know if he necessarily wants all the Infinity Stones.
I would imagine.
Plus, he has the Space Stone there, which is the best stone if he wants the other Infinity Stones. He can just teleport himself essentially where he wants to
I have
go.
a very strong feeling that that's gonna probably bump into one of the movies coming up.
I feel like when Thor 3 gets announced, that's going to be revealed. That's going to be the bigger plot of it. Is that that's going to tie into Avengers 3 more than any of the other,
Or it'll be part of
Phase
the
3
end
movies.
of Thor's plotline, Avengers 2. That'd be a
Yeah,
fun
I
little
feel
side thing popping in. It's like, oh, by the way, this is happening.
Oh yeah, I feel that probably is going to happen at some stretch as well. To like shit's happening in Asgard. You might want to go check out.
Yeah, yeah, shit's going down.
You were away for too long.
Yeah, oh, you're bad.
You fucked up
You
again.
done goofed. But yeah, I really don't get that complaint at all with the lackluster villains. It's just,
I get it, but I feel like people aren't thinking it through enough. And
they're
they're
not thinking
they're
it through enough, and the times where they're really lackluster villains, there's a reason usually, uh, unless you're Thor: The Dark World, which really just could have used a lot more Malakath.
Mm.
But with Guardians, there's a good reason behind it, and that reason is we needed more Guardians.
Yeah, I mean, you could have had more Ronin, but then you don't get Yondu. You don't get a scene with the Collector, and explain the Infinity Stones. You get less time to develop these five new heroes you're trying to learn at once.
And an entire world.
Yeah, it's one of those things where they kind of had to create him as fast as they could, and they still get pieces to him. It's just they're not a lot of obvious ones. You kind of had to sit there and kind of make assumptions on your own
Like how he
for it
likes
to
to
make a
bathe
lot
in the
more
blood of
sense.
his enemies.
Yeah, like that's something that they don't show, but when you actually watch it, you're like, that blood's going right back into that pool that we saw him come out of.
Gross.
Oh,
But yeah, so there's that. That was a fun little side I thought that we should talk about.
yeah, very much worth it.
Boom, boom. So we read some comic books, although for some reason I completely forgot to edit that into the last episode. My bad. It was really late.
It's all good.
I was laying in bed like Thursday night. It was like maybe 1 o'clock in the morning, and I'm like, I'm gonna go watch some TV. Fuck.
Wait.
Yeah, so I did that and I threw that out there. So we read, well, I read both Rocket Raccoon comics. You read one and a half, I imagine.
Yeah, I'm about halfway through the second one.
And we're going to talk about those for a little bit. And those things are read these comics.
Yes, the Rocket comics are great. Between the art, the humor, it's really kind of just a fun little comic to read.
And the second comic is fucking awesome. It
Hmm.
steps it up because it's like, oh, we've done our bits of setup. Now let's prison break montage, which is one of the best things I've ever seen.
Yeah,
But yeah, read them.
yeah, it's really it's tough to do credit to it, but it really does have some of the best art you'll see. It has some really great humor to it, and if you've seen the movies and you like Rocket from there, I mean, understand it's not going to be pound for pound exactly what you see in those movies. He's a little bit crazier in this book than that, but it really is a fun character. You're like, I could totally get
And
behind
you get
this.
the Rocket and Groot adventures.
You do, and one of the best ways I heard the book described is it has almost a very Calvin and Hobbes esque art style to it, and a lot of the exaggeration, expressions, and,
I can
and
see
kind of
that, but I still
mannerisms.
stick with my mid '90s
I think
indie comics.
I do agree that it's totally Earthworm Jim, but when I heard Calvin and Hobbes, I was like, I can definitely see that in
I can
this.
definitely see that, but I'm like, no, here's Earthworm Jim. Tell
Yeah,
me this is not Earthworm Jim, or like some Sam and Max as well.
yeah,
But yeah, it's very indie '90s extreme comics like the Max as well. Maybe some goofier Spawn stuff. I don't know where I'm going with that one, but yeah, shrug.
it's really good though.
Yeah, you really should. And the sad part is that we could review this, but just read it.
Yeah, that's the best review we can give. Is we don't want to ruin it for you. Just go read these books and enjoy them. And they're coming out what, bi-monthly?
Yeah.
Okay.
So give them a read. They're incredibly worth reading. So next week, I think we're going to be reading Star Lord.
Yes, the legendary Star Lord, I think he's called.
What are those things? Whatever.
Yeah, one of those titles.
Pasha. So I think we're almost at the point where we need to start coming up with like things to talk about that aren't comics.
Well, we've got what, three or no? We've got about a little more than a month until
Agents.
Agent starts. So we're ready to come up with some side topics in between.
Yeah. We're almost at the point where we can start openly talking about some big Guardian stuff.
Hmm. To be fair, if you want, we can even do that episode of looking at Man of Steel if you want.
We could, but then that makes me have to watch Man of Steel again.
I know, but you kind of have to
We
deal with
could
it.
talk about how good Dread is.
We could. I don't know if I can get a whole episode out of that.
I don't know. Just hey, everybody, go watch Dread. You're the reason why we're not getting a sequel faster,
Hmm.
which they actually might be getting.
It could. It's kind of sort of talked about.
I think they're writing it right now.
Yeah, but I always feel like if it's not like greenlit by the studio, it's just
Oh, the
someone writing
studio's kind
it.
of like we kind of want to do this.
Well, that's a good sign then.
It's also Lionsgate. What are they gonna do? Make less movies?
Yeah, I guess that's true. It's just like fucking throw more shit out there.
Yeah.
Something's got to stick.
To be fair, Lionsgate seems to have no problem with just putting out those niche genre films and seeing what happens. Like
Yeah.
that's pretty much what Punisher Warzone was.
Hmm.
It was just that awesome little niche thing. And so earlier today, I don't know if you saw those tweets. I was doing some like it was like the top 25 movies based on comic books, and it's like, oh, vote between these two movies. And my three finalists were Guardians, Dread, and Winter Soldier. And it's like, which is better, Winter Soldier or Guardians? I'm like, I can't make that choice.
You're like, don't make me do
It's
this.
like I hit skip. Which is better, Guardians or Dread? I'm like, that no.
Why you do this to me?
Skip. Winter Soldier or Dread? I'm like, okay, closing tab. It's like I can't.
Mm.
It's like I think it made me choose between Guardians and the Avengers, which I ended up saying Guardians, and this is my really stupid reason. Guardians is shorter.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, that's about it. The only reason why I like it even a little bit better is for that one technical reason. It's just a shorter film, and I think it holds up a little bit better to multiple watchings.
Mhm.
Just for one reason, when I was rewatching the Avengers recently, I was actually a little bit unhappy with the aspect ratio of the Avengers because I completely forgot it was what is it? Just regular anamorphic? The
Yeah,
1773.
don't come to me for aspect
Okay,
ratio
okay.
advice.
Here's the best way to describe these aspect ratios. When you're watching on a widescreen TV, if it fills the widescreen TV,
Mhm.
it does that as opposed to having the black bars at the top and the bottom, which is your anamorphic. So it doesn't allow it to have as big a frame as it does.
Okay.
And it also, there's at times where it looks very TV-ish.
Okay.
I
Yeah, I can see that.
and I really caught that because I was what was it like 3 o'clock in the morning? I was watching it. I just do that from time to time. Where like last night I was up till 5 o'clock in the morning watching both Hellboy movies because I guess it was that time of the year.
You're just at that point of the year where you're like, I need to watch Hellboy again.
Well, I booted up Netflix and it's like you should watch Hellboy. And I'm like I should watch Hellboy.
Yeah, I got it.
And then as soon as it was over, it's like oh I should watch Hellboy too. It's not on there, so I had to get up and bust out my DVD of it. And it's so weird with that has Seth MacFarlane in it too. It's so weird. But no, it's just some of the weird like technical things that I just have issues with Avengers that don't exist in Guardians. Because Guardians is shot beautifully.
Mm-hmm.
Where that movie's straight up gorgeous. And I don't have that feel with Avengers. And it's has nothing to do with the storyline, characters, or any of that nonsense. It's just look.
Yeah.
That might be a really shallow way of looking at it, but you got to figure out something.
Mm-hmm.
What about you?
I don't know. I'm depressed. I started looking at Robin Williams stuff again.
I've had Twitter closed for that reason. That I just cannot have that. I only have like Blu-ray sites and Box Office Mojo open, and that's it because even Box Office Mojo's reporting on it. But I just had to close all that shit down so I wouldn't bump into any more.
I'm going through his IMA, his AMA on Reddit. It's kind of depressing.
Is his Animu stuff that he talked about? How he's a big anime fan?
Well, he hasn't gotten to that yet, but he's just telling funny stories, like how he met Jack Nicholson at a benefit, and Jack Nicholson leaned over to him and was like, "Even oysters have enemies," and his response was, "Increase your dosage."
Oh man. Oh,
Oh,
amazing.
good times though.
Good times. So, anything you're looking forward to?
In terms of life,
Everything, I guess. I don't know.
I'm looking forward to a weekend. I'm looking forward to sleeping tonight. I got like no sleep,
I actually got no sleep.
so I don't operate well with no sleep at all.
Because guess when we had to get up to take my dad to the hospital?
Very early.
4.
That's very early.
Or well, we had to get up at 4, but since I was in the middle of watching Hellboy, so I was just like, well, I guess I'm not going to sleep tonight. As soon as I looked over my clock and I saw it was 3 o'clock in the morning, I'm like, fuck it.
I guess you could kind of sleep while you're at
I can't sleep in brightly lit hospital waiting rooms.
You can't.
No, I'm sorry.
Oh,
But yeah, so that's been my day.
no.
Okay, here's an interesting way to end this.
Okay.
Pick like any comic book movie. Which would you like to watch right now that is not titled Guardians of the Galaxy or Captain America: The Winter Soldier?
Anyone I could watch right now.
Right, meow.
Just the Marvel movies or anything.
Let's say any comic book movie. Let's be wacky.
You know what? I haven't seen any of the Blade movies, so let's say I want to watch First Blade.
First Blade. Hmm.
Yeah.
So you're riffing on me for not thinking Blade 2 is not that bad of a movie. Hmm?
I heard it was pretty bad.
It's okay. I mean, it's
I've seen like 20 minutes of Blade 3 and it was pretty bad.
Ryan Reynolds is the best part of that movie.
Yeah, well, I remember Triple H and his poodle, his vampire poodle.
Yeah, that was pretty bad. Although I do absolutely love Ryan Reynolds when he bursts in through the window and he has a name tag that says, "My name is fuck you."
Mm-hmm.
And that's his introduction, is bursting through a window with that name tag.
Yeah.
So that was pretty neat. But no, but I don't. Blade's interesting. I don't know how well it's aged. I do have the Blu-ray and I'm staring at it. But Blade 2, I don't mind. I mean, it's still a Guillermo del Toro movie to its core, but it's like one of his most mainstream movies that man's ever made. I mean, fuck, you watch Hellboy or Hellboy 2, especially Hellboy 2. They're both very Guillermo del Toro movies. Although there's a little bit less of him in like Pacific Rim.
He works better there, I guess, or
It has there's less of his abject weirdness. Like, there's some stories about him making Mimic that are just like, he wanted to have an entire action scene of them being chased by like the queen cockroach thing, but it was in the middle of mating, so it's got like the mate still attached to the crotch chasing them. And it's like, well, that was my idea for the action scene, and then he's like, then people were horrified.
we got it, guys.
And they're like, no, you can't do that. And he's like, oh, well, then we'll do this. That's Gabriel del Toro. He just throws shit at the wall and goes, let's try that. It's wacky.
I'm gonna have my robot punch through a building and tap the little thing.
That's a Guillermo del Toro shot.
Yeah.
That and the fucking in space fight, that 5 seconds in space part, the upper Atmo part. Sorry, that's very Guillermo del Toro. That and when like the look of the alien world. Yeah. So that's going to do it for this end of this meandering episode, just because I thought we needed to do something a little different at the end here.
It was a good decision. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it allows your brain to do something a little different towards the end. And go, hey, let's watch all the Alien movies, because let's fucking do it. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah. Boom.
Oh.
Bang. Done. I'd hammer my desk again, but I don't want to blow another mic out.
Oh, we are less than a month away from Cap on Blu-ray and DVD.
Huzzah!
Mm-hmm. Amazon's still not putting it up for pre-order, though.
Take that.
Yeah, they're in a fight.
Oh.
Oh, that reminds me. I didn't talk about that Cap news. They actually talked a little bit about the story about Cap 3.
They have mentioned some kind of small stuff, like they're sort of mentioning it's going to be along the same track of Captain America 2, be another political thriller.
Yeah, and they're like, Cap's completely adjusted by now. That's done.
Mm-hmm.
We're not moving with that stuff anymore. And they talked about more. They kind of mentioned, I can't remember what else they mentioned, but it had something to do with him now trying to find out what he's going to do as a person, not as a man at a time. But I don't know. Maybe he'll be a werewolf.
He might be.
Did you read that list? The 5 worst things that they made Captain America do in the comics.
He's had really bad ones, especially recently. So
Well, these are all old stuff, like when he fought Reptile Reagan.
that sounds awesome. I don't know what they're talking. That sounds amazing.
Where he just like shows up, and it was back when he was disillusioned in the 80s, and it was Ronald Reagan was poisoned by the Serpent Society and it was starting to become a snake.
Serpent Society is one of the weirdest things to me because, like, I kept watching Avengers: Earth's Mightiest Heroes,
It's
I was
like
like, who the fuck are these guys?
the Serpent
Why like
Society. Why do they keep popping up?
why do they show up more than Doctor Doom does?
Well, because you know, it's not about the Fantastic Four, and having Doc show up in Avengers is a little weird.
Ooh, hold on a second.
What?
There's another person who has been added into Avenger or Agents of Shield. Kyle McLaughlin.
Holland.
McClahan. McClahan. He was in Twin Peaks as Special Agent Dale Cooper, Blue Velvet, Sex and the City, Desperate Housewives. He's apparently going to be joining Agents of Shield in a recurring role,
Hooray!
in a critical role. That's what they.
Ooh.
There you
Um, and that's gonna kind of do it for us then.
go. All right.
Yeah, we'll just
Show.
there's not much else to talk about. I mean, we're kind of, you know,
Do a ride off into that sunset.
well, we're not ready to wrap for the sunset yet. We still have more movies to watch. Finger guns.
I'm gonna ride off into the sunset.
Well, then I guess got to find a new co-host then, dick.
Dick, suck it.
Oh, see ya, guys.
Bye. 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 Bye.